We're going to look now at the area of solvency and liquidity. And we're looking at the same firm, Ash Limited, as we had earlier. This is its balance sheet. So we're going to look at, can this firm pay its debts? Solvency and liquidity. So solvency refers to the answer to the question, can we pay our debts? Compare your assets to your liabilities. And if we look back at the balance sheet here, we can see the assets are fixed assets. We have intangible fixed, we have tangible fixed, we have financial fixed. So we have €830,000 worth of fixed assets. And we've got €150,000 worth of current assets. So between them, we have €980,000 in assets. Let's look at our liabilities. Our liabilities are our debts, and we've got long-term liabilities here, and we've got current liabilities there. So between them, that's €400,000 in liabilities. Our assets are 980,000, our liabilities are 400,000, so as long as our assets are properly valued, we can say yes, the firm is solvent. In fact, we have €580,000 in excess to spare. Let's have another look at that 580,000. The speediest assessment of our solvency would be simply to say our assets will be greater than our liabilities as long as our shareholders' funds are positive. Our shareholders' funds are 580,000. And we'll notice that's the difference between the total assets and the total liabilities. So yes, the firm is solvent because the firm can pay their debts. It's an impractical question really, because if you look at those assets, they include fixed assets which you have no intention of selling unless you're liquidating the firm. We've got land and buildings and machinery and equipment and things that couldn't quickly be sold. Similarly, there's an impracticality on the liability side insofar as we're saying our liabilities are 400,000 and yet they include 300,000 worth of so-called long-term liabilities, which are liabilities falling due after a year, which by definition aren't due right now. So we change our question to the more practical question of can the firm pay its debts as they fall due? And of course the debts that fall due are your current liabilities. And you don't want to use your fixed assets to pay them, so the assets you look at are your current assets. So we look at the ratio of current assets to current liabilities, and that's called working capital ratio or the current ratio. And we have €150,000 worth of current assets. Remember, they're back there. Current assets €150,000, and the current liabilities are €100,000. These two here. So we have a current ratio of 1.5:1. The recommended current ratio is anywhere from 1.5 to 2:1, so that's a fine current ratio. But even this has its limitations insofar as if we look again at the current assets, we find that they include stock which aren't easily sold. So we change the question yet again. The current ratio answers the question, can the firm pay its debts as they fall due? But it's much more important to know, can the firm pay its debts as they fall due out of liquid assets? So instead of just taking the current assets, we're going to take from them the illiquid or the unliquid stock of 70,000. And we're going to compare that with our current liabilities. This of course is called the acid test or the quick acid ratio or the liquid acid ratio. It's the ratio of current assets less stock and prepayments is the current liabilities. And typically in these questions there are no prepayments. That's why I'm writing up here current assets less stock is the current liabilities. Our current assets include €70,000 worth of stock, So we take that out. We have 80,000 worth of liquid assets is to 100,000 worth of current liabilities, debts that fall due, and it gives us 0.8 is to 1. That means that for every €1 this firm has in debts falling due, it has 80 cents in liquid assets with which to pay them. Now that's below the recommended 1 is to 1. So this firm has a liquidity problem. Although the firm was solvent, and although the current ratio was a reasonable 1.5 is to 1, the firm has a liquidity problem because the liquid asset ratio is less than the recommended 1 is to 1.